The group were modelled and styled as the British version of the Jackson 5. In May 1985, the group released what would be their breakthrough hit, All Fall Down. Nevertheless, the group's debut album, Luxury of Life, peaked at number 12 on the UK album
when they
chart.
came here they are joining us today for our final programme and another look at the Pebble Mill building.
Who sits in on most of the interviews, personally checks out every song they're sent.
We're very honoured to be here tonight and very surprised as well.
However, their affluent lifestyle was heavily criticised in the press.
We were teenagers. Teenagers live in the same house until they grow up to move out.
Then in June 1998, the group returned with an edgier and sexier image and sound and released what would be the lead single from their upcoming album, Another Weekend. We just kept it quiet. We went to Barbados together for a week and shared a villa. Within 5 days, he was on one knee proposing. I was 21 and my heart was saying no, but I said yes. We had dinner together, but there was never an engagement.
I'd like to ask 5 Star where they're so fucking crap.
5 Star and Dad Buster had blown £15 million in 3 years.
We went into business venture, invested in a studio in our home.
Right.
And we lost a lot of money with that.
The headline screamed bankruptcy.
There were no repossessions of any of our things.
I represent the mortgage company. We repossessed the house yesterday.
Also in an interview in 2003, Lorraine said that the group were already making plans to move to the US.
Because we shipped our cars to LA, we all have our homes in LA.
According to Wikipedia, the group were at loggerheads with RCA Records. Eventually, the group signed with Epic Records in early 1990 and began working on their album. It was here that Doris took over as lead singer. According to an October 2019 BBC News article, Doris said, "That was down to the record company. It was a surprise for me. I was like, oh, okay, I'll have a go." Then, in March 1990, the group released their first single under Epic Records, Treat Me Like a Lady, which peaked at number 54 on the UK singles chart, spending a total of 2 weeks on the chart. The group released their follow-up single, Hot Love, which peaked at number 68 on the UK singles chart, spending a total of 2 weeks on the chart. According to Wikipedia, despite heavy promotion, the two singles failed to reach the top 40. The group's self-titled fifth studio album was also released in 1990, this being the first album under Epic Records. However, the album was not a commercial success and failed to enter the charts. Then in October 1990, Stedman pleaded guilty to a charge of public indecency after being arrested in a public toilet in New Malden, London. However, speaking with The Guardian in June 2008, Denise spoke about Stedman's arrest. She said, "Stedman was arrested in a toilet long before George Michael was. I remember him coming into my room and crying. I didn't do what they said I did." Stedman had this to say during the TV special We Are Family.
For the 5 Star, Stedman was caught in the public toilets doing the naughty. I'd stopped off and I needed to go to the bathroom. So we asked this lady, do you know where there are any public conveniences? So I went in, did what I had to do, but there were 2 police officers and before I knew it, I was pinned against the wall because I was literally washing myself.
Buster Pearson had this to say about the incident.
If he did what he did, he was stupid, silly to say to him that you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. Let boys be boys, but you got to know where to be boys.
Several sources claim that following the incident, the group relocated to the US. However, in an interview on This Morning in 2002, Lorraine said that the reason why the group left to the US was because they wanted a break, as they had been overexposed.
Overexposed, I thought, looking back on everything now. So we wanted a break. We were in mid-teens, kind of, early 20s. And we wanted a normal life, kind of, which we didn't have here.
In Denise's interview with ClassicPopMag.com in January 2020, it was noted that in 1990, 5 Star relocated to the States, supposedly to further penetrate the market there, but really to escape the UK media, who for a while made them their whipping boys and girls. She said, "In Britain, once they rise you up, they bring you down. The move was a protection thing. I'm going to protect my family. So that's what I did. I took us out of the country." Delroy also said this in his interview in 2020.
I think once we did leave from the UK and we moved out here to LA, I think it was kind of like a breath of fresh air for us because, we could walk down the street and we were not bothered. Yeah. And it was just like I know me personally, I really enjoyed that because there was a lot going on in the UK and we had like a long run and still being very young. So it was good to get out here, take a breather from it, just take a break for a minute.
According to Last.fm, after relocating to the US, the group worked on their upcoming album, Shine, which was recorded at the Jacksons recording studio in California. Denise confirmed this in her January 2020 interview with classicpopmag.com. We recorded the Shine album at their studio in California. We got to meet Joseph and Catherine. Consequently, a planned third single from the album, What About Me Baby, was shelved, and plans to release the album in the UK was scrapped due to the poor performance of the group's two singles. Then in 1991, the group released the single Shine. Denise was back to being the lead vocalist. This was followed by the release of the album of the same name. According to the blog site Music of the Rare, Obscure and Unknown, the album was only released in the US, but was released on import to the UK. However, both the single and the album failed to make any impact on the charts, and the group were later dropped from Epic Records. In her interview with Choose 80s, it was mentioned that Doris had previously said, but she didn't say whether it was RCA or Epic, did not promote the group extensively in the US. She confirmed that she believed that there should have been more interest in the group and more should have been done to promote the group in the US as they already had a fan base.
It was just one of those hit and miss things, really. It should have been a lot more interest in us touring, and just because America's so vast and we had a fan base.
Yeah,
so, you know, even on my Instagram today, they're like, oh, we missed out on you guys. We don't know how, but you're in the States for a while. So I put that all down to the business side and the record company side of things. I think, you know, 5 Star was a global act. So very international. So I think more should have been done and could have been done with us at that time, you know, at the peak of our career. And unfortunately wasn't.
In 1994, the group released another album, Heart and Soul, independently on their father's own record label, Tent, which was reissued in 1995 in the UK. However, the album did not attract much attention and failed to enter the charts. Also, in 1994, the group released the lead single from the album, I Love You for Sentimental Reasons, which peaked at number 116 on the US R&B charts. Over here in the UK, in 1995, the single peaked at number 84 on the UK singles chart, spending a total of 1 week on the chart. The group also released a follow-up single at the end of 1995 titled I Give, You Give, which peaked at number 83 on the UK singles chart, spending a total of 1 week on the chart. However, later that year, the group disbanded. According to the blog site Music of the Rare, Obscure and Unknown, in the years the group broke up, Denise later got married and had children. Delroy went into music production. Stedman pursued other business ventures such as running a limousine service and teaching dance in London. Lorraine became an author and Doris focused on personal projects and other interests. On Badass TV in 1995, hosted by American rapper Ice-T and British television and radio broadcaster and chef Andy Oliver, a spotlight was put on 5 Star. On the show, Andy stated that 5 Star seemed to have disappeared and it was inevitable that something terrible was going to happen to them.
5 really sweet little kids jumping around with their orange hair and the whole thing, and then they just disappeared, and you always knew something terrible was going to happen to them, right? It was just so inevitable, it was painful really. And then it did, and then they just went. So, you know, I for one would like to know what happened to them.
In 2001, it seems that 5 Star may have gotten back together as they released a new single titled Functified, which peaked at number 99 on the Billboard Hot R&B Hip Hop Singles chart, spending a total of 1 week on the chart. In June that year, the group released their 8th studio album, Eclipse. However, the album did not generate much success. Lorraine then left the group. According to an article in the Mirror newspaper in June 2018, this was after 5 Star's audiences dwindling and her relationship with her sister Denise was at breaking point. Lorraine then got a job in a clothes shop and found happiness. She said, I made friends, I had a salary. It was very important to be independent. I just thought being a legend is not going to pay the bills. I had to work and I loved it. However, in 2002, 5 Star returned to the UK as a trio, which consisted of Denise, Stedman and Lorraine. The trio made several TV appearances and performed on various tours, including the Here and Now Nostalgia Tour. In 2005, the group re-recorded and remastered their hit single System Addict, In October 2006, the group were booked to perform a gig at the family resort, Butlins, where all 5 members were billed to perform. However, instead, 3 impersonators were used to mime to backing tapes. Speaking with The Guardian in June 2008, Denise mentioned that the group fell out but came back as a trio for the Here and Now tour, Lorraine quitting the trio, and the real reason for the Butlin fiasco. She said, "We fell out a lot but came back as a trio for the Here and Now tour in 2002, which was great, but Dad fell out with the promoter, Tony Denton, which was bad for business. Lorraine quit. I left after a gig at Butlins. Then Dad put together a 5-star to tour Butlins without us, including 3 strangers miming to my vocals. The fans were really offended. I was offended." According to Wikipedia, in March 2007, Sony BMG released a compilation DVD of all of the group's videos. This was titled 5-Star Performance. However, at the end of July 2007, it was reported in the Mirror newspaper that allegedly Buster Pearson told his eldest son, Stedman, that he had a gun and was planning to shoot him. It was also reported that Stedman's door to his home had been kicked down and he was moved to a safe location. At the time, a source close to Stedman told the newspaper, "Sted is terrified. His dad rang him on his mobile phone at lunchtime on Sunday and told him he had a gun and wanted to shoot him. Stedman is moving on with his life, but his father finds that very difficult to handle and is basically a very angry man." However, no arrests were made. Then, in 2008, for the 5-star 25th anniversary, Denise joined Stedman and backing dancers for gigs at Butlins. This was after Denise had said in her interview with The Guardian that if she could convince Lorraine to join them, then all 5 original members would perform one last tour together. She said, "If we can convince Lorraine, we're going to do one last tour as the proper 5-star without Dad." In 2010, Cherry Pop Records released expanded special edition versions of the group's first 2 albums, Luxury of Life and Silk and Steel. However, in 2011, Lorraine was diagnosed with breast cancer. She told the Mirror in June 2018, "We were planning to move to Qatar and we were packing up our house when I scratched under my arm and felt a lump. Tears came to my eyes. It was massive." Lorraine has since been given the all clear. In the same year, the group's very first song, Problematic, was released digitally in July 2011, along with a previously unreleased track called It, which is an outtake from the Heart and Soul album sessions from 1994. Then, in the summer of 2012, all 5 siblings performed at the 2012 Rewind festivals. On the 14th of October 2012, 5-Star's father and business manager Buster Pearson sadly passed away at the age of 71. By 2013, Cherry Pop Records had released expanded versions of all 6 albums originally released on RCA and Epic Records. In the same year, Cherry Pop Records released the remix Anthology, which included 7-inch and 12-inch remixes of the singles released on RCA and Epic Records between 1984 and 1991, which had not already been included on the special edition reissued albums. After the death of their father, Lorraine left 5-Star for good.
It's difficult because I have left 5-Star so many times, but I loved my dad and I adore him and I always went back.
But after he passed away, that's when you left for good, isn't it?
Yes.
5-Star were now a 4-piece group, which consisted of Denise, Delroy, Doris and Stedman, performing every summer at festivals in and around the UK.
Yeah, my love is getting stronger. There's an urgency.
In 2018, Denise announced tour dates in the UK under the 5-Star name. However, instead of the tour dates involving her siblings, Denise was actually supported by 4 supporting artists and not her siblings. That summer, the new lineup went on to perform numerous gigs and concerts. Around the same time, Lorraine appeared on the ITV daytime talk show Loose Women, where she revealed that her and Denise never got on. She went on to say that as kids, her and Denise were inseparable. However, as they got older, the relationship became more difficult, and that she had not spoken to Denise for the past 3 years at that point.
I mean, in general, my dad always knew that Denise and I never got on.
Right.
We did, as kids, we were inseparable. As we got older, it got more difficult, and working in the group, it was just somewhere I didn't want to be anymore.
When did you last speak to Denise?
About 3 years ago. Yeah. I love her very much. I love my sister.
You
It's
don't
very
like
difficult to like. Yeah, it's very difficult, and there's nothing wrong with it. I had to separate myself and say to myself, Lorraine, this is your story. This is the situation with your sister, and it's fine to talk about that.
Lorraine also mentioned how she found out about the new 5-star lineup with Denise on the internet and expressed how she felt about this.
I found out, not from family, just going on the internet, trying to find a good picture to show a friend, and I thought, I recognise this girl, and it was my sister and 4 other people behind her.
It was also noted in an article in the Mirror newspaper in June 2018 that Lorraine had said, "I haven't spoken to Denise in 3 years. We don't get on. She is very much a diva. I haven't spoken to her since my dad died. Life is too short to be around people who you don't like and who don't like you. Denise is my sister and I love her, but I don't like her very much." However, in an interview with classicpopmag.com in January 2020, Denise confirmed that her relationship with Lorraine had been repaired. She said, "Lorraine came over from her US home just a couple of months ago. We were going to get together, but I had work to do, unfortunately, but she's coming back and forth. We had a wonderful Christmas together, all of us, at Mummy's, and we all broke into Problematic, the first single that we put out. We were just harmonizing the vocals. They said it's the best Christmas they ever had. It was the best Christmas I ever had too." She added, "Sometimes you have to put things behind you because you're always going to be family. Sometimes you break up, sometimes you say things, and sometimes you do things that you're not very proud of." Also in 2018, a limited edition deluxe box set, which contained the reissued edition of all major 5-star projects, was released. Denise helped curate the collection's track list. In 2019, a 3-CD compilation album titled Gold was released and peaked at number 43 on the UK albums chart, spending a total of 1 week on the chart. Denise spoke about curating the Gold collection in her interview with classicpopmag.com in January 2020. She said, "I didn't know I would be the one to take on this role." She added, "But I know how hard Daddy worked back in the day. It's our family legacy. It's our teenage years that we dedicated to our career. It's helped so many people's lives, and to take that away, because you don't have 4 other members, I think that would be a sin." During lockdown in 2020, Denise performed virtually for the 80s Lockdown Fest, where she sang 5-star's hit Can't Wait Another Minute. Also in 2020, Delroy debuted a new version of the 5-star classic Let Me Be The One on Steve White in Conversation, which he says his siblings approved of. In her interview with classicpopmag.com in January 2020, Denise said, "We have our own families now." Del, who also lives in the States, said it was a bit too far to travel and stay away from the kids. "I don't know, maybe one day we'll come back together when we're all on the same page, but right now, they've all got young ones. Mine are grown up, so I can stay out and party if I want to." In March 2022, Doris explained that the group have made several attempts to get back together, but it just hasn't gelled.
I am always game for a reunion. There have been several attempts by us 5. It just hasn't gelled. There are so many people out there that would love to see us 5 back together, and I can't say any more than never say never. And if it happens, it does, because like I said, there have been several attempts and no cigar so far.
It appears that Denise is still continuing to perform as 5-star either on her own or with background dancers. It cannot be denied that 5-star were one of the biggest groups to come out of the UK. They were at the top of the British music business as they racked up 10 top 20 hits, they had 4 top 20 albums, made a breakthrough in the US despite not being promoted to the fullest as mentioned by Doris, New Zealand and various countries in Europe, and have sold more than 15 million records in the 1980s alone. The group even had their own comic strip. However, along with the fame came controversy, and eventually 5 Star left the UK and headed to the US, but it appears that during this time they were not having much luck making an impact like they did before. Nevertheless, it is certain that 5 Star have cemented their place in British music history. And that brings us to the end of the video. I hope you've all enjoyed. For those of you who made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, subscribe and comment down below. Let me know your thoughts and I'll see you all in my next video. Over and out.